What we're going to do here is I'm going to give you an overview of how Miramo PDF works, and then I'll show you how to change and redesign and rebrand a PDF design in less than 10 minutes. And then after that, Corinna is going to go through a few live examples that we have and take any questions that you have. So that's the way. Some of you may have seen this part of this demonstration before, but some of you may not, so I'll go through it from scratch. Okay. So I shall share my screen. Thank you. Okay. So our tagline is "Shake off the shackles of XSLFO," and I think it'll become clear why that is as I go through the presentation. So yeah. So Miramo PDF can give you sophisticated design capability without any programming, and there you go. That is why you don't need any XSLFO. This gives you massive flexibility because you no longer are dependent on, say, consultants to do your XSLFO programming, or for hiring internal developers. So you can basically have your PDF design and redesign and changes all within whichever department is most useful for you and gives you the quickest turnaround time. So this all saves you time and money, the money because of the consultancy, and also you're saving money because of turnaround time. So there's massive benefits from using Miramo PDF, and the other key is that you don't have to compromise on the design at all. Just because it's an easy tool to use doesn't mean that the design has to be compromised in any way, and this is very important. So to explain how Miramo PDF works differently from an XSLFO model, on the right hand side we've shown a XSLFO model, and on the left hand side is Miramo. So you probably are familiar with this. Basically the Dita OT plugin takes the Dita and transforms it to XSLFO, which is a mixture of form and content, and then it is rendered to a PDF. So all the formatting controls are within the these 250 plus files, and you really need to know what you're doing to control the design and create a design. So from the Miramo PDF side, the Miramo Dita Open Toolkit plugin takes the Dita and does a topic merge and transforms to our own version of XML, which is Miramo XML. The XML is content only, and that differs hugely from XSLFO, and there's only reference to the formatting, and the formatting refers to a template that is generated by Miramo Designer. So Miramo Designer is the only thing that you need to know how to use, and I can generate templates, and I'm in business development, and there's a very low level of training required to become proficient in the use of Miramo Designer. So our composition engine, which is a powerful composition engine, takes these two elements, the XML and the MFD file, and renders it to PDF. So that's how the two processes differ. So the GUI template designer, it's a very intuitive designer, and it controls the document structure, the document colors, the text formatting, table formatting, MathML and footnote formatting, and variable and cross references. Now you can see listed underneath are all these doc defs, page defs, etc. And you're going to see these within Miramo Designer when I show you the tool. So I'm going to move on to Miramo Designer. Okay, what we're looking at here is, sorry, I have my controls hiding it. What we're looking at here is Miramo Designer, and this is the default template that comes with our plugin. And on the right-hand side are all these format definitions, color defs, let's see, page defs. I open that up. You can see cover pages, left pages, right pages, etc. Paradefs. These are all the paragraph formats, and you can see they're all listed down here. So this is where all the formatting is controlled. So I'm going to select a page def. So I'm going to select a cover. So over on the left-hand side, when I selected that cover page, you can see a representation of the cover. So as you make changes, you can see a representation on the left-hand side. So you get instant feedback as to what you're doing at all times. So if I click on an object, and this is I'll just ungroup that. If I click on an object here, so this is a background text frame. It has a variable inside it, and you can see the properties of that background text frame, the size and position, the border, and the fill. Now, if I grab that text frame and move it around, you can see all those values change. So it's very easy to use. As Corinna says, clicky, draggy, droppy. That's our phrase for that.
Clicky, pointy, draggy.
Oh, sorry, I forgot the pointy. My apologies. And okay, so here are the paragraph format definitions. And if I select, say, a topic title 1, on the left-hand side again, you can see a representation of what that paragraph formatting is going to look like. You can see it has a list label there. This is controlled within here. I'll just give a click into there. So that's where you would define the properties of the list label. You can see here, here's the text size. I'll make it larger, and I can change the color, say to orange or salmon, sorry. So all this is very easily controlled and with instant feedback. Okay, so I think I was on 13, I think that was.
You can revert to saved.
Yes, okay. I'll show you one more format definition, like the contents definition. So this is where you would control the formatting of the table of contents. So in here, I'll minimize that. In here, you can see the 3 levels that are within the table of contents. You can add a level. You can change what paragraph is displayed within that table of contents. So I'm going to delete that level, and you can assign a formatting. So this is the paragraph formatting that is assigned to that table of contents level. Okay. So that's just a quick view of those parts. I mean, down here there is running text def, page number def, all the formatting of all these paragraphs, and inside here you have the formatting for the table defs, etc. I'm going to go into Oxygen now. and I'm going to run that default template against some sample data.
You didn't save it, did you?
I didn't save it, no. Yeah. Some sample data. I think this could be Elliot's sample data, is it?
Oh, I think it is.
Yeah, it is. This is the Thunderbird sample data, and I'm going to run that against that default template that comes with our plugin. And this is the development transformation that I'm going to run against it. So I think everybody there is probably familiar with Oxygen, so this is going to be fine. I'll just make sure nothing's open. Perfect. So I'll run that transformation. So what's happening here is a topic merge and then the transformation to a Miramo XML. And at the end of this, we should have a PDF produced by our default template. So that's out of the box without any changes made to it. So this is going to be a development PDF, and what I mean by that is, if you can see these tooltips that come up beside here, and so if you click on the tooltips, it'll show you that the formatting of this is actually a variable, is called paradef article title, and that links to an article title paradef within the template. So if you want to change that, the formatting of this variable, you go into article title in the template and make whatever changes you want. Just going to tab through.
Maybe the section definitions.
Ah, yes, good point. So here, as you can see, this is a cover page and it says page def cover, and the section def is the cover section. And on every page, it tells you what section you're in and what page depth you're in, so you know where you want to make the changes. This is a language variable, so it links to the file in the Ditto Open Toolkit, and it will pull up the appropriate language as set in the template. Here you can see this is TOC3, and that's the formatting that's assigned to that level within the table of contents. So I'll just tab through here, so you can see the formatting that is assigned by our default template provided with our
topic title paragraphs.
Okay, so this is topic title 1, font family Noto Sans. So you can decide whether the color, the size, etc. Is this what you want? Do you want to go back into topic title 1 and make changes to that? So this is where you get all the information. The mapping from Ditto to the MFD is, it doesn't need to be understood what that mapping is, because obviously it changes as different, whichever way the Ditto is structured, but it's all the information is provided in this development PDF, and it makes it very straightforward and very simple as to what you need to do and what you need to change. So this is a body paragraph, and you can see all the properties of the body paragraph here. Okay, you can see the different tables and how they're formatted. Click and down to the index. All right, so that is the development PDF that was output there. So now we're going to move back to the template and make some changes. So this is where we reformat and rebrand this PDF to make it totally different within 10 minutes or less, actually. So I'm going to click on the cover. I want to move these items, so I'm going to group them and just move them down and ungroup. Again, you can see all the properties here. If you had a specific location, you could either input it here if you require. To rebrand the color, I want a different color as the main document color. So you can click in here and assign a different color. Now, where's the super color I decided on? It's very important. No, bear with me, bear with me. 7, 3, and 1. All right, so I'm going for a kind of a saffron color. It's all the rage these days. I'm going to import an image. Gear wheels, you can see why I chose the saffron, it's lovely. And okay, you can change the width and height and resolution here if you require. I'm going to import by reference, but you can copy in the document if you like. Okay, so I'm just going to drag this image. Again, you can put in the positioning here if you like, and you can make it a replaceable image if that's what you want. I want to line this image with this line here. So I select this, I control select this, right click, and oh, I have to ungroup, sorry. Right, select and right click, and I want to align to the first selected, which is the bottom saffron line, and align the right edges. Okay, and then I'm going to drag this up to here. Okay, so it's not a beautiful cover page. I'm going to tab it down a bit to give it a little balance. It's not a beautiful page, but you can see it looks totally different from when I started. And if I'm going to save this now. So if I go into, say, a right page, you can see the document color was assigned to this line and this line. So it's changed across the right page, the left page, the contents page. So you really have assigned a new color branding to the entire document already with very little effort. If you can see here, there's the lang contents variable that I was talking about earlier. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is go into a paragraph, and I want to change the formatting of the topic titles. So I'm going to right click and do a group modify. I want to change the font family. I'm going to do it to something dramatically awful. What was that you said?
Stencil.
Stencil, right. Right, let's see where we are. Stencil and text color, green. Right, so the font family and the text color for all the topic titles is going to be changed to green and stencil. Right, is there any other changes I think I should make to this? Right, the other thing I didn't show you when I was showing you the topic title, now you can see a representation of the changes I made, but you can drag the first line indent, all these things, first line, start line indent, they can all be dragged around. So you can always review what you're doing all the time. So it makes it very easy to make changes. So I'm going to save the template now and go back into Oxygen.
Close the PDF.
It's a development one, so it's not too bad. Yeah. So I'm going to run, this time I'm going to run the production transformation, and the production transformation won't have all those tooltips. So you'll see all those beautiful changes in all their glory. Okay, so again, there's a topic merge and a transformation to Miramo PDF. And then we should have that amazing PDF output. So we're asked a lot if we can produce designs that can match a InDesign design. And the answer is yes, we can. And it has massive flexibility to allow you to do that. So here we have the revised, rebranded cover page. And you can see all the saffron is throughout. And then we have the stencil in the green that we selected. So the document looks significantly different, and there's a lot more changes that we could have made very quickly. Let me see if I have a table. You can see the shading in the header was assigned to document color 2, and that took that shading from there as well. So it's not as ugly as I usually get. So quite pleased with that. So, all right, so that's your rebranded document in less than 10 minutes. So I'm going to show you, as I was talking about there, we've produced or worked with some clients to produce InDesign designs. So this is based on a sample we received, an InDesign sample that we received. And at one point, our PDF and the InDesign PDF were on their website at the same time with no difference. It's quite a beautiful design, but this was straightforward to generate. So that's just a sample of one InDesign PDF. We have, of course, many. And here is another one, again, based on an InDesign design.
Yeah, so this is actually what we're demonstrating here is version 2 of Miramo PDFs, that this is actually the beta version that you're looking at, and we're releasing that on Linux and macOS, and we're about to go into beta testing. So we'll be releasing this before the end of the year. Okay, so this is the draft documentation for version 2, so you may spot some problems. If you do, let me know. So here we have a chapter on publishing to PDF. So as well as changing the appearance of the output through the template, there's also a whole set of ANT build parameters which you can use to tweak various aspects of the output, and they're all documented in here. So if we go through them, so for example, you can apply crop marks just by setting an ANT build parameter. You can choose things like, you can choose whether to format certain glossary entries as a table or as a list of paragraphs. here, this is MMPDF images dir. Very often people want to swap in their own icons for use with notes and warnings. I think we saw an example of that in the Alphen document. So you can just specify a different folder for those icons. Here you can also choose whether you have a table of contents, a cover, an index, all through the ANT build parameters. And of course, you can specify which MFD file you want to use. And down at the bottom, we have support for structured PDF through the PDF type and ANT build parameter. So that's, if you like, a second level of configuration for the output. When Joanne was producing a development version, that's actually set up to use show properties set to yes, and that gives you all the information you need to know what to go back and change in the Miramo designer template. So there is, of course, a default mapping between DITA elements and Miramo document objects and format definitions, but you don't have to care what that mapping is. You can just go look at the PDF and then go back to the MFD file and change them. So that's a second level of configuration. There's also, you can use output class values. So this is where, if you want to apply an exception rule to a particular DITA element, for example, you don't like the default mapping for a paragraph or a paragraph type of element, you can apply a different one using this output class value. And we'll come back to that a bit later on. Okay, you can also do things like you can have maximum minimum row heights. You can specify different cross references. You can apply with next and with previous. All these things can be done through the MFD template, but if you need to overrule them, override them, you can use output class values. And one of the thing which you very often use is we have this concept of section definitions, where a document is constructed out of different sections, and a section defines a set of page layouts. So for example, if we go back to...
So you're using section in the way that Microsoft Word uses section.
I guess we are, yeah. So let's have a look. I'm just going to reopen one of the documents that I carefully closed. Okay, so here. So here we've got this, I think Joanne touched on this briefly. So we've got a cover section, which is used to define the page layout for the cover. And then here we've got a content section. And as we go down, so every document will be assigned a first section. So we can change page layouts at the blink of an eye. And for example, you might want to apply a landscape section in the middle of a portrait document. And you can do that using one of these output class values. So it would be MMPDF section name, and I can show you that later on. So that's the, I suppose you might say, the third level of customization. Then there's also, you can completely change, you can add your own customization to the Miramo, the standard Miramo PDF plugin. So if you want to change the default mapping in any way, or you have some weird and wonderful different formatting that you want to apply, you can do it through a simple customization. So that might be something that interests you, Elliot. So perhaps I could take you through.
So, yeah, I mean, so I was basically assuming that there's an XSLT transform that's generating the Miramo XML, and that can be extended through normal plugin extension mechanisms.
Exactly.
Right.
quite so. So I'm just going to, where is it? Samples. I'm looking for a fig images side by side. Okay. So here's an example of a simple customization where if you if we look at these standard figures, so you just have a set of figures and they just laid out one after the other. Okay, so what this customization does is this looks exactly the same, but if we look into the ditter, we'll see that each of these figures has a side-by-side output class specification. Okay, so if I just run this through, and here we've got a very simple customization to the Miramo, standard Miramo Ditter Open Toolkit plugin called com.example.fig-mmpdf. I'll just run that through here and show you what we get. So again, we're doing the topic merge into Miramo XML, which describes the document content in terms of document objects like paragraphs, tables, etc. Here we've got the figures. This is the standard figures where they're laid out one after the other. And here we have the side-by-side figures. So actually what's behind the scenes in this plugin, it's picking up the fact that there are 3 side-by-side figure elements and it's laying them out in a table. And they're being automatically resized to fit the columns of the table. So this table is a fig table with 3 columns and it's set up to have proportionally widthed columns. This is the customization I showed you where we've got the figures laid out side by side.
Right.
Okay, so what we're saying in this, and this is the customization that achieves that. So it's like 60 lines of XSL style sheet programming. And it's
right.
saying, yeah, so it's saying, look for a figure which has a side-by-side output class, count up the preceding and following numbers of figures. Anyway, it all works. So.
Oh, works. Yeah, no, it looks pretty straightforward. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's basically just laying it's calculating the number of columns and laying the figures out in a table. Right. So that's the kind of thing we can do. I hope that partially answers your question.
It does. So while we're looking at XSLT really quick, I assume that if I, like, for example, my current project, we have data, but we're generating a completely different XML that then is what gets rendered by some existing tools.
Yeah.
And that XML has no direct relationship to data whatsoever. So I assume it would just be a matter of writing a transform to the Miramo XML representation to then be able to render it.
Yeah,
right?
And actually it's generally easier.
Right.
Yeah, because it's just an XML to XML transformation. And if the XML is designed for publishing, generally it fits very well into the Miramo document model.
Sophistication, right? So.
Yeah. Okay, well, as an example, if we go just briefly back to the XSL style sheet. So here, this is Miramo XML. So it's all pretty intuitive. So we've got a table. So, and this is a completely fully documented standard. So if we go back here, and I can go and look up table. So generally speaking, each element has a whole set of different properties, but this is what you use Miramo Designer to set up. But it means that if you need to write your own customization this is the reference to do it, and you can apply overrides to the format definitions.
Right.
Do you have any use cases with Miramo PDF producing different language objects? In our environment,
Absolutely.
our translations are just different instances of a map or topic, but we are able to choose the language combination to output the different languages.
We do. Okay, so that brings us on to a proof of concept that we did. So I'm going to go and find it. So when we are asked to do a proof of concept, generally we'll be given a PDF of the document that is wanted.
It would be our target.
This is the target PDF. Yeah. So, and you'll see here, this is one of these pieces of paper that you immediately throw away when you open up your, sorry, I'm too fast. So this is the PDF that they were aiming for. And you'll see here, it's got the different languages. So we've got Polish, Finnish, and at the end we have Hebrew. Okay, so if we take a look at the ditter, so the customer also supplied us with the source ditter, which is what we're looking at here. And you'll see we've got English, German, Finnish, Norwegian, Polish, Swedish, and Hebrew. Okay, so for us to do the proof of concept is purely a matter of creating the Miramo template, because that's what a proof of concept is in our terms. So if I just show you what that Miramo template looks like. So this took us about half a day to do this proof of concept, because all we had to do was set up a landscape template with 4 columns and some very tiny paragraphs. Not that one. Okay, so you'll see it's actually quite a reasonably simple template. So if we look at the pages, we've only got blank left and right, and actually the only page used is this right page. So here it's got 4 columns. You can change the number of columns at the click of a mouse. And then if we take a look at the paragraphs, it's a very limited set of paragraphs. So if I show you the result of our proof of concept, let's just run that through. If we had time, I was going to step through the procedure for creating one of these proof of concepts, but I think we might be running a bit short of time. We don't have half a day. It would only take about 10 minutes, but I think you'll get the idea here. So again, it's doing the topic merge into Miramo XML, which has the content in those multiple languages. The reason for Hebrew being at the end is because Hebrew is a right to left language. So it needs to start at the top of the right page and flow left. So this is the proof of concept result. And if we go back here, this is the target PDF. So it's reasonably similar. And again, all we had to do was set up this landscape right page with the 4 text columns. And then you'll see here these topic title, these paragraphs are set up to be Arial 9 point, etc. And the language switching. So I think, do we have any? Yeah, so here we've got table 1, because this is the English section. If we scroll down, we've got, what are we on now? I don't know. Yeah, so here we've got different language variables for the different figure names and table headings. And this is all happens automatically from the XML language in the input ditter.
Is this the Johnson controls document? Yeah,
it is. Yeah. So, and here we have the final page in Hebrew, and it has to be on a page on its own at the end because it flows from right to left, as you see. So for them, it was vital that they were able to control the number of pages. So if this strayed into a 10-page document, that would cost them a lot of money. So that's possibly why the writing's so small.
And also they didn't think anyone would read it.
And they didn't think anyone would read it, exactly, yeah. So with Miramo PDF, you can fiddle around with the formatting and get it just so it fits exactly the number of pages you want. So does that answer your questions, Tim?
Maybe we'll.
So there's a whole section on multilingual publishing in the Getting Started guide, and it goes through the MFD templates. This template was just one template for all the languages because we were able to use Arial, which has all the glyphs you need for all the 6 different languages. But you can also switch fonts within the language, or you can have separate templates for different languages. It's an architecting decision, really. So we've got language specific variables, and you can easily create your own language specific variables. It's very easy. So I don't know if you can see this. We have a set of configuration files where you can create a language variable. You can either pick up the DitterOpen Toolkit language string, the built-in language string, or, for example, here's on a lang on page. So this is one way you've added your own language variable. So the whole thing is geared to making it easy to create language strings. Yeah, and I think one of the examples we looked at had the language name in a rotated column. That was the Alphen. So again, you can create your own. Stop sharing that, I think. Yeah. So I hope that, I think we've got 5 minutes left, so I hope that clarified. And of course, if you'd like any more information or would like to see a proof of concept of any project you have, please do follow up with us.